And we are back, everyone, with another segment here on AM Sports, and we're talking some Eastern Conference playoffs. Eastern Conference. So let's start it off right at the top with the 1 seed, the Indiana Pacers, dropping Game 1 at home to the Atlanta Hawks, but then picking it right back up with Game 2. Are the Pacers finally back on track?
What do you mean by on track? I mean, I think they're gonna win the first round because they're playing a team that had 38 wins. But honestly, I think the Wizards are gonna knock them off next round in 5 games. I mean, one good factor that emerged last game was Paul George. Paul George, that was probably the best game he had in the last 4 months. He had 27 points, 10 boards, and 6 assists. Paul George, if he has games like this, maybe they'll be back in the Eastern Finals to play the Heat. But without him, like there's chaos between George Hill and Lance Stevenson. You guys heard about that?
Oh, the fisticuffs, but it was
that just shows that this team is not. Teammates don't fight like that, and it means chemistry is not flowing, and this is not good.
They're calling out each other in press conferences and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we were getting on the Knicks for having bad chemistry, but at least they haven't gotten to that level.
No, they've gone. The last month of the season's been pretty bad for Indiana. They went under 500. I think they went 11-14 to close out. They've been struggling to score the ball. Yeah, they broke 100 points last game. Paul George played great, but players like Lance Stevenson. I mean, he led the league in triple doubles this year. But I don't like the way Lance Stevenson plays. He takes a lot of like crazy shots.
Remember the thing is though with him now, he's playing, I think, as much as to win is also for a contract. Because when you look at it, the rest of these guys have gotten paid. They've gotten their money.
Yeah, but what's more important? I mean, for Lance Stevenson, the contract's more important. But if I was Frank Vogel, if this guy's playing for his contract, I would take him out because by him playing for his contract, he's going to do some Carmelo Anthony stuff. And he's going to try and go isolation and single-handedly pull you out of the game by taking inconsistent shots. So.
And the reason he's doing all that is because of the whole disarray that's transpiring in the locker room. He feels like guys who have that contract, they're not stepping up.
Another thing is Indiana has to get rid of George Hill. He is not a starting point guard in this league. Yes, he was great with Pop in San Antonio. Great guy coming off the bench. But he is not a starting point guard in this league. I'm sorry.
I mean, he's a shooting guard that happens to play the point guard position for Indiana.
But if you're trying to win an NBA Finals, George Hill's your point guard, you're telling me?
He's not a point guard by any means. Even worse a defender to me.
Another thing is I think Roy Hibbert needs to get involved more. Roy Hibbert actually has a pretty nice post game.
Roy Hibbert does need to get involved more, but look at this. If Indiana, first of all, I'm not even convinced with their last win. I feel like I need to see what they do in Atlanta first. I need to see another game. But aside from that, if you look at the way Roy Hibbert is being used in this series, the guys he's guarding are stretching the floor. I mean, they're out jacking up perimeter shots, which is drawing him out of the paint and opening the lane for penetration when, Teague blows by George Hill and whatnot. So
last one, you can't sell anything on last win. It's inexcusable how you even drop game 1 to a team that had 38 wins. They're not. You want to know like San Antonio's in a hard-fought matchup with the Dallas Mavericks. The team had 49 wins. That's an 8th seed in the West that had 11 more wins than the Hawks. Indiana should cruise by a team like Atlanta.
If the Mavericks were in the Eastern Conference, they'd be hosting a first-round playoff series.
Thank you. They would be the 3rd seed. That's what I'm saying. Like for Indiana they were losing to Atlanta too. I think they were down by 10 going into the second quarter.
Yeah, they
should not be. If you're struggling with a team like Atlanta losing their best player in Al Horford, this team is not good at all. They're not even a playoff bound. If the Knicks were to be in there, honestly, the Knicks could have beat them. Like you can't base anything off the Pacers right now. They are not even worthy of even reaching the Eastern Finals.
But the Pacers are just too good to lose to the Hawks.
That's what I'm saying. One game.
They're just too good. So that's why
I'm telling you, they're gonna lose one more too in Atlanta. It's pretty sad to say.
If they play the way they played in the second half in this game, I think they won the third quarter, 31-13, and 12 of 16 shots made. And then George did a good defensive assignment on Teague. He kind of took him out the game.
It's one game though. We need to see consistency.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe this could be the start, as you're saying, Sean. It's a good point, but it's Atlanta, man.
I think this is definitely the start for the Pacers, and they're yes, they struggled down the stretch, but I think they're finally saying, hey, we're in the playoffs now. This is real big boy basketball. We gotta get our act together.
Whatever. One other thing though, if you look at it, Atlanta in that game had a bunch of wide open shots that just didn't happen to fall. If those shots went in, you're looking at a completely different ball game.
Indiana was not closing out. They were just getting lucky. Indiana was not closing out. I know you're talking about. They were that's not good. You gotta close out on them shots.
Well, with the Pacers struggling, are the Heat the overwhelming favorites to win the Eastern Conference now?
I definitely think so, but I think we need to credit Charlotte here. Charlotte they're playing one heck of a series. They are hustling, they are fighting. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist played very well. 22 points, 10 rebounds against the Heat last game. Al Jefferson got injured in game 1. He came back, did not play like the Al Jefferson self that we know from the regular season. And game 2 looked like he was injured out there, honestly. He was not banging down low. He went 9 for 23 from the field. So if Charlotte wants to get through this series, Al Jefferson needs to be that factor because the Heat have no answer for him. The only answer they have is double teaming in the post. So Al Jefferson needs to step up. But the Heat right now, yes, Ian, I think that there's no one else that can compete besides Indiana.
Yeah, I feel like
Indiana's got their own problems.
The Heat are going back to their 4th straight finals, regardless if they meet Indiana or not. To me, it's just guaranteed right now. The Pacers are just unraveling before our very eyes. So that's another factor to put in there. And then also, if you look at the Heat, I mean, okay, they're playing Charlotte, and Charlotte is playing their heart out. I have to commend them, like you said. But okay, after Charlotte, who do they play?
They've got the winner of the Nets-Raptors series, which the Nets are leading 2-0.
No, 1-1.
1-1.
That's right. Yeah, 1-1. So close to 2-0.
Yeah, both games.
But the Nets beat the Heat 4-0 this year. That's pretty convincing. Do they pose a threat to the Miami Heat?
Both teams play like two. They don't rebound particularly well. There's experienced veterans, closers on both sides of the field.
So they'll be even on the boards at like 2 rebounds a game.
I don't know about 2, but they'll probably have like 28, 30, not a lot. Like you'll have like the Memphis Grizzlies who have 48 by the end of the game.
I don't think they're going to beat the Heat in this postseason, but they could push it to 7 games.
But Ian makes a good point. It's the only posing threat right now.
Yeah, well, that's
they have closers that can match the Heat's closers.
Yeah, exactly. They have
Paul Pierce, Johnson, Darren Williams.
Thornton, too.
Now, what if Toronto comes out of this series?
The problem with Toronto, which I was going to say when we talk about the Net Raptors series when we get to it, is...
Let's talk about it right now.
Oh, you want to talk about it right now? All right. So, the problem I see with the Raptors when they were playing the Nets is, like I said, the Nets have closers. Unfortunately, Paul Pierce missed those 2 big shots. I don't know if you guys saw it in Game 2, but Paul Pierce has been known to hit that shot. Both shots are right on the rim, just fell right out.
Pierce just had a bad game in Game 2.
Yeah.
Just an overall bad game.
The problem with Game 1 with the Raptors, they did not know how to close it out. They were struggling. The ball was going down. They had a couple shot clock violations. The only one who could really break down the defense, like DeMar DeRozan, Game 2, he showed up like the DeMar DeRozan from the regular season. This is a guy who averaged 23 points a game. He showed up. He was hitting fall-away jumpers. He was bobbing and weaving.
Yeah, he had 30 points.
Yeah, he had 30 points. I mean, he had a struggle in first half. I think he was 6 for 18 at the half.
And then remember, he had 15 in the fourth quarter as opposed to his 14 total points in the first
Yeah,
half.
so I think the Raptors don't have enough closers to finish out. Kyle Lowry's good, but he's a guy who will hit that three. He won't really like break you down in isolation because he's kind of small when he goes to the hoop and everything. So, but I think DeMar DeRozan has to be that catalyst. And honestly, I think the Nets are going to win, though. This is going to be the best matchup in the East, though. I think it's going to go 7.
So we're saying the Nets are going to win here.
But the Raptors don't pose a threat. Not as much as the Nets. If anyone were to beat the Heat, it'd be the Nets, if that's what you're asking.
Another thing with the Raptors, they don't have the playoff experience the Nets do.
Yeah, too young in any.
There was a stat, I think, that the whole Raptor team combined for 156 games in the playoffs, while Paul Pierce and Garnett combined together for 144. Just them two against 12 guys. The Nets combined, I think it was 360. So that's a lot of playoff experience. And Ian makes a great point about how playoff experience and the games played comes into affects the series, affects who wins, you know?
I'd say that was a big reason why Brooklyn lost in the first round to Chicago last year.
Yeah, because
And
people
then
like Pierce and Garnett were not there with the experience.
exactly, and then they went out and got Pierce and Garnett, and now they've got the experience that
Speaking of
could take them.
Chicago,
Excellent transition. What's wrong with Chicago? The Bulls, they're down 2-0 to Washington, losing both at home. What's wrong with them?
Sean, you can start this one off.
That right there is a mystery. You know what it is? It's a struggling. Like they struggle to score. I feel like they struggle to score too often. And then you guys got on the Wizards. You know, Wall can create, Bill can create, even Nene can create a little bit. And I feel like it's just the way the Bulls win is by holding teams to certain amount of points.
That's exactly what I'm gonna say. Because you said before that they struggled. The Bulls always struggle to score every game. The way they win games is they win games like 91-87. Now, a stat that I'm gonna show out to you right now is that the Wizards, first game they had 100. They had 102. They won by 9, and then the second game they won 101-99. Now, if you look at that stat, both games the Wizards eclipsed over 100 points. Chicago does not want an opposing team scoring over 100 points because that's putting Chicago in an offensive game. Chicago does not want that.
Exactly.
So, and they don't have Derrick Rose. They traded Luol Deng. Their offensive weapons are no longer there. So, that's that saying. You got to keep the Wizards at 90. Keep them at 90 or in the 80s, and Chicago will pull out that Chicago-like victory.
Now, what about the slogan, defense wins championships?
Exactly. And
why is that not factoring in?
because they're not playing defense right now. They give up 100 points both games. Defensive mind team don't give up 100 points in both games, you know?
And that again though, that goes to show the talent differential. I feel like Washington is a more talented team, and that's why they're scoring.
Well, you know why? Because they're totally two different teams. Chicago's one of those teams who's young. They have people like John Wall and Bradley Beal who want to score in transition and can break down in defense, while the Bulls rely on someone like DJ Augustin. Yes, he's a good player, but he's not the guy you're trying to rely on to pull out the big shot for you. You know what I mean? So, in a matchup like this, it's leaving the Bulls at a they're not getting the upper hand because the Wizards are breaking them down in transition, and they have veterans like Ariza, who's actually been in the league I think he's been in the league almost like 9 years now. Started with the Lakers. So someone like him who could bring that slasher mentality to the court, and guys like Nene, who's an experienced veteran too, who can take Boozer and Gibson out and hit that little 12-footer.
Exactly. He's been playing well. He had the best game.
This team's more balanced.
Yeah.
Sum it up like that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't think the
2-0, no.
Yeah, I thought the Wizards would steal game one, and then the Bulls would take control of the series. So the Wizards have definitely been impressive, taking both at the United Center.
And the bad thing about Chicago is they don't play very good on the road. They do not play really good on the road. For Wizards to win 2 games in Chicago is a really tough thing to do. People, like Ian said, I don't think people understand how important that was.
I think they'll split in Washington and it'll go back to the United Center for Game 5.
I think the Wizards are gonna win in 5. I think, like you said, they're gonna split, and Wizards are gonna end it in Chicago.
Yeah, I'll give it 5.
I'm seeing 6.
Seeing 6?
I'm seeing a split in Atlanta, and then the Bulls finally get a win at home, and Washington closes it out at home.
I'm a little
6.
discouraged, but I love watching John Wall's one of my favorite players. But I had the Bulls going to the East. Remember in the preview, I
Yeah,
thought
you
the
said
Bulls
that.
were gonna be that sleeper team, but it looks like Washington's the sleeper team out there, the dark horse.
Hey, we'll see what happens when it all unfolds in the next few days and weeks. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back to move on to the Western Conference.